Today we're going to practice changing the value of our colors by adding other colors to lighten or darken them.
To paint our honey pot, we'll need some titanium white, cadmium orange, medium yellow, and raw umber. We'll start by sketching in 2 small rectangles, one short one and one longer one. If you like, you can round the corners off to make it more of a jar shape. We're working on toned paper, and if you'd like to know how to make some toned paper of your own, there'll be a link in the description box to a video on that process. I'll just add in small indication of where the table will be, where the shadow will be, and some details in the bottle. We're going to start blocking in by using some raw umber on one side of the lid. Go about 3/4 the way along, because that side of the jar will be in shadow. And then we'll make a darker line again on the left hand side, just to indicate the darker side of the jar. We're going to mix up a nice mid-tone color using a little bit of orange, some brown, and a tiny amount of white. This will give us the color of honey, and we use that to block in most of the jar. We're going to leave a little gap in the middle of our jar because the honey will look a little bit lighter in that area. We're going to add in the lighter values now, using the same colors as we had before, but we're just going to mix together some yellow with a little bit of white and a little bit of that orangey color of the honey. And then we'll paint that on the right side of the jar to make it look lighter in value. We'll take some more of our yellowy mixture, add it to the middle of the jar to create that glow where the light shines through the honey. You can softly blend it in to the surrounding honey color, just using the brush as it is, a little bit dirty with a bit of yellow on, just softly blend it into the surrounding areas. You can put a little bit of that yellow in the middle of the bottom of the jar too, because that's another area where the light will catch. We're going to add some white to some raw umber to paint the tabletop. Mix it to almost like a mid-color value, whatever you think will look nice, but we want it to be lighter than the top of the painting. Remember to leave a little gap open for where you want the flowers to go, because it will be difficult to paint white on top of that background. For the background around the bottle at the top, it's just straight raw umber on its own. going to add some details now. Using the raw umber again, just outline the bottom of the jar, the shadow area, and the left-hand side of the jar, just using raw umber. Now you've still got some of that raw umber on your brush, so you can add it to the yellow paint at the bottom of the jar, not right in the middle, just around the edges. Leave the middle part nice and bright. The parts on the edges, because you've used yellow before, when you add a little bit of the raw umber mix in, it'll give you a grayish color. You can use your raw umber to re-establish the dark area under the jar and into the shadow. We'll use some of that honey color to add some details to the jar. Use a clean, dry brush to soften the shadow and tidy up some of your harder lines. In my imagination, this honey was orange blossom honey, so I'm going to add in a little orange blossom just for decoration next to the honey jar. But if you've decided to make lavender honey or some other type of honey, you can take the opportunity to add a different kind of blossom in. For this blossom, we just use some titanium white mixed with a little of the yellow. Once you're happy with your blossom, you can finish off the background, bring the color right up into your petals, and soften the line between the tabletop and the background because we want it to recede into the background. Now for my favorite part, adding the highlights. The highlights color for the highlights was a little bit of yellow mixed with white. Try and avoid pure titanium white because it can be a little bit harsh for our purposes today. Just add a few highlights here and there wherever you think the light would catch the glass of the jar. Now that we're finishing off, I'm starting to feel a bit hungry. I think it might be time for a nice delicious snack of honey on toast. The perfect reward for all our hard work. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you again in the next video.